At first glance, these look like strange flowers hanging from the ends of leaves, but these structures aren't flowers at all. They're leaves modified into elaborate traps designed to capture, drown, and digest animals. These are Nepenthes, the tropical pitcher plants. Nepenthes is a genus of tropical carnivorous plants, and the pitcher is actually a modified portion of the leaf, not a flower. When wet, the rim of the peristome can become extremely slippery, helping prey lose its footing and fall into the pitcher. Younger climbing plants often produce lower pitchers, while mature vines may develop morphologically different upper pitchers. Nepenthes diversity is concentrated heavily in Southeast Asia, particularly places such as Borneo, Sumatra, and the Philippines, and surrounding regions, although the genus extends much farther geographically. Lowland species generally come from warmer environments, while Highland species experience cooler conditions, particularly cooler nights. That distinction becomes important later on when addressing their care, because it explains why there isn't really one universal set of Nepenthes temperatures. Getting into why they have carnivory in the first place, carnivory isn't primarily about obtaining energy. They're still photosynthetic plants and get their carbon and energy through photosynthesis. The big evolutionary problem is nutrients. Many carnivorous plants evolved in habitats where sunlight and water may have been plentiful, but biologically available nutrients, especially nitrogen and phosphorus, are limited. So instead of competing exclusively through roots for scarce nutrients, their ancestors evolved increasingly elaborate ways of acquiring nutrients from animals and other organic material. Nepenthes don't eat insects because they can't make their own food. They capture animals because photosynthesis can provide energy, but it can't magically provide nitrogen and phosphorus. Their pitcher mechanism goes like this. The nectar attracts prey, the peristome promotes slipping, prey falls inside, which escape is very difficult, the pitcher fluid and digestive processes break materials down, and the nutrients get absorbed by the plant. Some Nepenthes have evolved relationships that go beyond simply murdering insects. Certain species obtain nutrients from animal droppings, and others have specialized ecological relationships with vertebrates or invertebrates. Carnivory in Nepenthes is really better understood as part of a spectrum of nutrient acquisition strategies. There's also a misconception that the lid snaps shut. It doesn't. This isn't a Venus flytrap wearing a tropical hat. The lid primarily helps regulate what enters the pitcher and interacts with its trapping ecology. Now getting into care for Nepenthes species. People routinely murder these plants with kindness and mineral-encrusted tap water. For water, you need low mineral water such as rainwater, distilled water, or reverse osmosis water. Because they come from environments that don't have heavy nutrients already, they can't handle nutrients or heavy minerals that are, say, in tap water, for example. For light, they generally need very bright light, normally filtered or indirect depending on conditions. Insufficient light commonly causes poor pitcher production. For their substrate, they need airy, nutrient-poor, well-draining media like long fiber sphagnum moss mixed with aeration components such as perlite is very common. Don't treat them like ordinary potting soil houseplants. For humidity, they need moderate to high humidity, which encourages pitcher development, although many commonly sold hybrids adapt surprisingly well to household conditions. Now for temperature, Nepenthes are commonly divided into 3 groups. They're divided into lowland, intermediate, and highland growing conditions. The lowland species prefer hot days around 80 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit and warm nights around 70 degrees to 75 degrees. Intermediate species generally prefer days around 75 to 85 degrees with nights around 60 to 70 degrees. Highland Nepenthes prefer cooler conditions, usually around 70 to 80 degrees during the day, but importantly, temperatures should fall to roughly 50 to 60 degrees at night. For for feeding. They don't need fertilizer dumped into the pitchers or whatever other culinary crimes the internet has devised for these plants. Insects can supplement growth, and many plants catch enough prey themselves, and most of the times they don't need to be fed in the first place. Which gets into fertilizer. Nepenthes are adapted to nutrient-poor environments, and they can be damaged by heavy excessive fertilization. Most species don't need any fertilizer at all. Pitchers will eventually brown and die naturally as they catch prey. That does not necessarily mean the entire plant is dying. If your plants aren't making pitchers, the usual suspects are insufficient light, very low humidity, environmental changes or acclimation, inappropriate temperatures for that exact species, root or substrate problems, or general stress like from sudden movement into a new growing area. Sometimes when someone brings a new Nepenthes home and existing pitchers start dying, that can simply be acclimation to the new environment. New growth is often much more informative than whether every old pitcher survives the move. For repotting, I would avoid compact waterlogged media and unnecessary root disturbance if possible. Nepenthes are a perfect example of what evolution can produce when organisms are forced to survive under unusual constraints. These are still photosynthetic plants, but environments where essential nutrients can be extraordinarily scarce. Their leaves became something else entirely. They became traps, digestive chambers, and miniature ecosystems. And across hundreds of species, evolution has modified that basic design again and again. I hope you enjoyed this episode and a little bit of a deep dive into Nepenthes as well as into their care. If you want to get updated on any botanical or plant content I post in general, feel free to subscribe.